Welcome. My name's Denise Hoyt, and I am here to train you, clinical providers, in a group practice. So some of the things we're going to go over today is an orientation to how to log into your therapy appointment account, how to navigate your therapy appointment account, some of the settings you have available to you, as well as the basic processes of going through your day. So let's go ahead and get started. So to log into your therapy appointment account, your administrative staff is going to send you a link so that you can set up your own username and password. But to log back into therapy appointment, if you go to www.therapyappointment.com and use the login at the top right, then you will get to the screen where you'll be able to put in your username and password. Now, I highly recommend that you bookmark this particular screen on your browser so that you can just come here directly in order to log in. Once you log into therapy appointment, you are going to arrive on your dashboard screen or your home screen. So let's take a quick look around at the home screen. First, there are some things on your screen that will stay static, which means that no matter what page you're on, you'll always have these options available. The first one is the lower left corner. You have a blue question mark here, and this is a quick way, just click on this, that you can use a keyword search and hit enter, and that's going to search for helpful articles. Just click into the article to make it full screen and you'll be able to read that fully. If you're not finding what you're asking for, you can click over to ask at the top, and this will, this will bring you to be able to submit a question to our support team. However, many of your questions will also be able to be answered by your administrative staff. Next, we're going to go up to the opposite corner into the right-hand top. And if you click under your name, you'll have a drop-down menu. You also have access to Help Center from here. So Help Center is a more full-fledged search area and additional tutorials. So you have additional training videos you can access here. I'll be referring to some of those today. You can set up a notification if for some reason that therapy appointment is temporarily down. We'll give you system status updates, frequently asked questions, blog helpful articles, and you can send email to support. You can also schedule one-on-one support time. Now at the top right, you have a couple other options. Under your name, let's go back there, you'll see your profile. So if you click into your profile, this is where you will see settings that you have available to you. Now, your administrative staff has likely set up your settings already, but I do want to cover a couple of things here. First of all, there are going to be some templates that you have available to you here. Your calendar settings will be here. Client portal settings, very important settings here that if you would like to allow clients to self-schedule appointments with you, then this is where your settings would be. Okay, so you can take a quick look around, and I just encourage you not to change anything. At this point in time, your administrative staff may be giving you more information about what they'd like you to change versus what to allow to stay static here. Now at the top right, you also have a messages button, and you'll notice that I have a counter for the fact that I have one message available to me. So this is new unread messages that I have. These messages can come from two places. They can come from your staff members that you work with, or they can come from your clients via the patient portal. So if you have a message you haven't read, just click on it. You'll be able to use the box and archive messages. The messages will also automatically be logged in that client's profile if you've sent the client a message or they've sent you a message as well. Okay. You also have a Plus New button at the top. So Plus New allows you to start several different kinds of processes. Most commonly and frequently what this is set up for is adding a new client. Now in your group practice, you may not be inviting new clients into therapy appointment. They might be doing that for you, but if you ever should need to add a new client for yourself, then you'll say new client, and you'll be able to put in a client's first and last name, date of birth, phone numbers, emails, and you'd also be able to, if you want, invite the client to set up the client portal and have it automatically deliver documents to that portal that the practice has assigned should always go out to new clients. Okay, so talk with your practice. You may or may not be using this button much, but if you do, it is fairly self-explanatory. You have a few other things under that new button. You could set up a new group. In other words, if you perform group therapy or maybe family therapy where you're treating many different family members, this would be a helpful place to go to start creating a new group for therapy. Setting an appointment. I'll show you many different ways to set up an appointment. And then setting up a message, right? So message, I can create a message to someone in my practice here. You'll have some presets such as all front office staff, all the therapists in the practice, subject, body, or you can certainly just type in a name. So here we're going to send a message to John Doe in the practice, and you could even add attachments. All right, let's go over to the left-hand side, the static menu. So at the top you have home. So when you log into therapy appointment, this is where you're always going to arrive and land. And let's take a quick look at what's on the home screen. On the left-hand side is a clinical process for you. Your appointment scheduled for today, we had Fred at 9 a.m. We have Jill at 11. Jill is scheduled as a telehealth session in therapy appointment. I have some incomplete session notes that I need to finish. And I'm sorry to tell you that therapy appointment does not let you forget that you have session notes unfinished. This one happens to be about 5 years old, so it will not let you forget. But if you want to get into those to finish them, just click on it, click on top of the name of that client and the date, and it'll take you right into completing that session note. The other thing you'll see is any forms you might have to complete. So therapy appointment offers some ability to set up intake forms that your client needs to complete, that you can have additional fields that you might need to fill in and or also sign along with your client. So your practice may be determining this for you, but one of the ones that I in particular like to use, my client Jill has completed for me adult intake and assessment and HIPAA notice of privacy practices. So the HIPAA notice of privacy practices is here because my client has signed it, and I also need to sign it. So this section is here so that I can add my signature and hit save, and then it will take care of completing that for me. Now, the other thing that you have here on your home screen, this is an adult intake assessment. So what's happened here is this was assigned to the client as a new client, and they have completed the questions that were sent on this form. So what I'm going to do is use this in my clinical interview. So I'm interviewing the client, I'm reading what they said about that particular section, and then I can add additional information into this section. So it's going through questions like adjustment. So anything highlighted in blue here, this is a place for me to add additional comments and information. Okay, so I'm reading what they said, we're talking in that clinical interview, and so you'll see that there is a section here that is going to be about, developmental processes, physical, family, and then there's also a section down here. The client has signed this, and I have a mental status exam section in this form, diagnosis, additional diagnosis, and so there's room for me to sign and complete this form. Now your practice may have fields in here that are reserved for you that you have to complete. So if I hit save, it's going to tell me, hey, you didn't fill out everything you were supposed to. And if you hit show me, it'll take you right and highlight that so that you know exactly what you need to complete in that form. Okay, so you'll be notified on your home screen that you have forms ready to review and complete for your clients. Also, expiring treatment plans. So if you have clients who have treatment plans coming due soon, therapy appointment will let you know 15 days or 2 weeks before the appointment, and also if it has expired. So Perry Mason, it expired 2 days ago. If I happen to have Perry on my schedule this week, I'm not going to worry about it, but this is going to let me know. I can always update a treatment plan when I'm documenting a session note with a client. I can go in the client record at any time. I can also go right here and review that treatment plan. I could update it, and I could set a next treatment plan due date. Okay. You also have a look at some unconfirmed appointments. So therapy appointment has the ability to ask clients to confirm that they're coming. And so clients who are scheduled in the next 48 hours who have not yet confirmed will be listed here, so that if you want to give them a phone call or a follow-up, and your admin might be doing this, or it might be your job to do this, but if I click on top of this, I'll quickly have the client's information. I'll be able to see their address and phone numbers if I want to give them a call. And if I was able to get a hold of them, and they said, yes, I'll be there, I can just quickly hit confirm appointment, and that appointment's marked as confirmed, and I don't have any upcoming appointments that clients haven't confirmed at this time. Okay. Now on the right-hand side, this is a process where your client has, you'll have some information here about new clients and or clients that we want to make sure don't fall through the cracks. So first of all, a client retention report. Now, I apologize, I'm going to click on this and there's not going to be a client listed here. But if you see a client who's been coming in regularly, hasn't been scheduled in the past 2 weeks, and is not scheduled for a future appointment either, they're going to show up on this list. Just so that you're aware of that, maybe you want to follow up with that client, you'll have some options to do that by sending them a message in the portal. You'll have their phone number. Or maybe you finished therapy and it's time to move them to inactive status. So you'll see a list of these on your profile if you have any of that situation. Now you have two things here about clients that are new for you. I can view those clients as a list. So these are clients assigned to me that are new. I have their phone numbers, information, the date added, who in the practice added them into the system. And if I want to click on top of that client, I can get right into their profile. So that is helpful. However, I personally find that the intake wizard is more helpful. And the reason for that is it's giving me that same information, but it's also showing me a look at the fact that this client is already scheduled for me. So these circles indicate parts of that intake process that are already completed. So if we look at Rory here, he has registered in the portal. He's scheduled for his first appointment. It's scheduled for 10/25. He has given the practice the insurance information. It looks like my practice still needs to verify his insurance, but he has completed all his forms and documents that we asked him to complete. I can click here to manage those documents and get in and read what his answers were to that biography and different things like that. Okay. And then it takes me into his profile here. Let me go back to that intake wizard real quick. I also am notified this client has put a credit card on file. So Harry here is registered in the portal, is scheduled. We have his insurance all done, but he hasn't completed his forms and documents yet, and he has not put a credit card on file. So you're able to follow up with that client. If I wanted to follow up with that client, if I click here, I can get to their profile, or I can click this message button and I could send him a message. I could send an email that would open up email handler. If you want to send a message that way, send a message through the patient portal, or maybe I want to call. So if you have calling embedded in your device, you could call right from there. Okay. All right, let's go next to look at the menu item clients. This is a list of all the clients assigned to you who are active or new clients, and any therapy groups that you have in play that are assigned to you. So everything with this group icon next to it, that's a group. I can click into it and I can see who is part of that group. It happens to be these 3 clients. I could add new clients to this group, and by editing the group, I can add a client up here that I'm going to be seeing in that group, and I could remove someone from that group from here. Okay. So when we look at the clients, then all of my clients are going to be listed alphabetically, ordered by last name. Now, one of the things that you do have over on the right are search fields. So you can search for a client by first or last name, by an email address, phone number, date of birth. If you are looking for a client, you can't find them, you might want to set your client status and say inactive. And what that's going to do is going to show you clients that are inactive in that case, and search among those. Okay. You could search by insurance company, by account number listed here. So you can scroll, and then if you click on top of that client, you are then in that client's profile. We'll come back to a client profile in a minute. Calendar. This is your calendar. So if you'll notice here, I have Fred at 9 and Jill at 11. This is mirroring what I have in my home screen for today's appointments. Okay, so your calendar here, you can have a few different views. If you want to look at this for a month view, for a week view, for a day view, you would be able to see that for a day view here. Okay, I can also go forward and back in time by using these buttons. If I click today, it's always going to take me back to show me either today or this week, no matter where I'm at. Okay. Now, you also have the ability to click here and go to a particular date into the future. So if I wanted to look at October 31st, it's taking me right to October 31st in this case. And again, I can go back to today. Now, I want to take a minute and show you how to use your calendar. So first of all, over on the right, this may be collapsed, but you have some calendar settings and calendar usages over here that might be collapsed. But you can add a new client, find availability. This is really handy if you're looking for an appointment time to see a client at a repeating slot that's going to work for them. So let's say it happens to be Harry Husker, and I am looking for an appointment that we could see him, that I know I have available like for the next 6 weeks. He really wants late afternoon appointments. And so when I'm looking at the schedule here, any day with a green dot on it means I have appointments that fit that criteria. And if he says Tuesdays would be great, well, on the 15th, I do have like a 3 o'clock available. I could set them up at any of these times here. Let's go to the 16th. I've got a 3 or 4 available. So the reason you're seeing this set up this way is because I've set up my availability calendar for just 15 minutes appointments, which is what, in some cases, if you happen to be a prescriber, that might be helpful to you. But I would be able to set up and say, hey, we're going to take that 4 o'clock slot, and I can go ahead and get them scheduled out for even 6 or more occurrences or through a certain date. Okay. So let's go back to the calendar. This blue area, in this case it's blue, your practice may use different colors, but this is an example of outlining my usual and typical office hours that I am available to see clients, whether it's in person or via telehealth. So this example is this therapist typically works 8 to noon, 1 to 5, and then on Mondays she has a 5:30 to 8:30 appointment slots available. This needs to be set up for 3 reasons. First of all, it sets up the location that you're working from that day. So maybe you have work at multiple locations. Those locations can be color coded. So when you look at your schedule, you know what you're seeing. The next thing it does is it guides your eye and that of your administrators to know when you're typically in the office. And third and final is if you are interested in allowing clients to potentially schedule appointments online, then it allows you to set up your availability, and you can set limits into where clients could schedule and self-schedule. So let me show you what I mean by this. Now we have a whole little video of how to set up your availability, but what I do want to show you here is this particular therapist has her availability set up in blocks, and each block I can tell therapy appointment what I want to happen. For example, my Tuesday morning blocks from 8 to 12, I see clients every 60 minutes. Okay. If I allow clients to self-schedule online, they could schedule either in person or via telehealth, and I could allow them to schedule online. It doesn't mean I am, it means potentially they could schedule into these time slots. I still have to turn on self-scheduling. So again, we're doing the same thing for Friday mornings. Let's take a look at Monday evenings. So Monday evenings, this therapist is available in person or via telehealth, but is not allowing any client to potentially self-schedule into these time slots. In other words, the therapist or admin could go into that time slot, but not anybody else. Okay. You can also add exceptions. So if you have a unique schedule, maybe for a semester that's different than usual, or the summer, then you can set up unique availability for time slots. Okay. So when you're finished editing any of that, just hit done. I want to assure you, if you edit your availability, it will not affect any appointments you already have on your calendar. Now, if you're going to be out on vacation or you have meetings and blocks on your calendar, you're going to be able to set those up. So let's go and set up that next Friday, maybe you're going to be out of the office. So I'm just going to click in this top block, mark out of office, hit book it, and that's going to take away my availability. So it's letting my admin know I will not be available that day. If I am allowing clients to self-schedule, it is not going to allow clients to self-schedule into those slots. Okay, I can remove that at any time. Just hit delete. You can also set up blocks for meetings. Maybe you're going to be out Friday morning for a dentist appointment. So you can say, hey, I'm busy, or I'm out of the office, dentist, and I'm going to block this off for, let's say, 60 minutes, and I'll book that. Additionally, you can drag these appointments to a new time, or you could drag that appointment to extend the time or shrink that amount of time. So it's totally customizable. You can also set up appointments to be repeating appointments that you have every day or every week at a certain time. Okay. Again, if I want to delete this, just hit delete, cancel the meeting, and it's canceled. If I were going to set that up for a repeating appointment, if I go down to the bottom under more details options, I could say, yes, it repeats every week, and I want it to repeat maybe through a certain date, and let's just say the end of the year. And it's just letting me know I already have some appointments scheduled, at those times, and that's okay. It is not going to delete those appointments off my calendar. In other words, if I already have a client scheduled, I'll know that I have a client scheduled on top of the meeting, so I can go ahead and move that appointment. So we'll go ahead and save that. Okay. And it's just letting me know if I need to, it wants me to title it staff meeting. Okay. And so we'll go ahead and hit that on. And so now that meeting is going to be on my schedule every week. So we'll see that listed. Okay. And we'll see here it's why it was saying, hey, you have a new client at 8 o'clock on this day. So it was giving me those errors. All right. So next, let's talk about putting a client on your schedule. Now we have a whole video about scheduling that you can watch, but I want to do a really quick review. So in a time slot, click into a time slot, a few letters of a client's first or last name, select the client, and therapy appointment is going to suggest to me, because I've seen this client before, that the last time I saw this client was a 60-minute coded 90837 telehealth session. And if I'm good with that, I can just hit book it. Maybe this isn't going to be a telehealth session, so I'll just uncheck that box. Or maybe it needs to be a different kind of service, then I can choose from, maybe it's going to be couples therapy, okay? And if I go ahead and book it, it's on my schedule. Now, if the client says, wait, that time's not going to work anything later in the day, they say, how about at 1 o'clock? They say, that's great. And then I can just drag and drop them to that 1 o'clock time. I can also extend that appointment to cover more and block more off on my schedule as well. Okay. You would set up a repeating appointment for a client just like I showed you earlier in this video. Okay, next, let's go back over to the menu and click on reports. You may or may not be given access to reporting, but if you do, this is a view of income that's come in for your services, and it just gives you a look at some things that might be interesting to you, like clients who've paid for their services. So this may or may not be available to you depending upon your practice's decision. So next, let's take a look at a client and go more deeply into their record, okay? So this is Bobby Brooks' chart. Her chart is made up of her profile, any messages I have sent to Bobby or Bobby has sent to me via the portal, a look at all the appointments that she's had or rescheduled or canceled. And you have filters over here to indicate what time range you want to see. All of the session notes that have been written on this client by myself. Potentially, if you are in a practice that team treats, you could potentially see the records of other therapists. This is going to depend on your practice and your practice settings, but you would can talk to your administrators if you're going to have that situation. And then documents and forms. So documents and forms, these are those forms and documents that have been assigned to the client to complete in the client portal. So you remember when I was on this home screen and we had some forms to complete that, were for Jill, right? So let's just go, I'm going to go to my calendar and I'm going to click in here and go to Jill's profile. So I can go to see these docs and forms, and I can see that Jill has completed these forms. They're assigned to me, the therapist, to do my part next. So the client has done what they needed to do here. Now I could potentially assign additional forms to this client. If I click this plus button, I'm going to choose my name in case this client is assigned to more than one provider in your practice. And here are forms I have available to me to assign. So let's say that I am going to assign the PHQ-9. So I just assign that to the client. You'll notice it says not started. So the client just got notified they have a form waiting in the portal, but they haven't clicked on that form to complete it yet. There's another kind of form, PDF form. So think of this as being a personal library of different documents that you could create. So think of it as being a homework library or a referral library that's custom to you, the provider. In order to set up this library, if you go to your name and under your profile, you'll be able to go under templates, and you'll be able to add documents that you want to keep in your library that could potentially be assigned to clients. So these would need to be PDF files in these cases. Okay. So one of the things here, let's just go back to my client, is this will be customized to you, right? So if we say plus assign, let's give them this referral to ECI. So I'll see it was assigned this day, and the client has not looked at this yet. And if you are requesting a signature, you could request a client sign something, but there is not applicable on this particular document. Also, if I assign that by accident, I could say unassign, or maybe it's something that the client needed to sign, but then I needed to take away. So I could revoke the client's access, but leave it attached to that client here. There's also a section for documents on file. I'm going to go to a different client as an example here. So let's go into this particular client. So documents on file. We have a lot of them in this example. These are items that you can store and upload on the client's record. So this might be past session notes from a previous EHR you could upload and store here. This could be, referral forms. Maybe you had to write and send the client a letter. So those can all be stored here. Now, the client cannot see these forms. These are viewable only by you and the practice. And last but not least, attachments from messages. So if you send the client a message and include an attachment, or the client sends you a message with an attachment, that attachment's automatically going to be logged. So anything that you see linked here, if you take a look at that, then you will see that document. Okay. All right, so now let's look at the process. The process of seeing a client, and that is first and foremost, the client needs to be on your schedule. And I am going to give an example of, in many practices, therapists are responsible for collecting copays from their clients. So in this example, this therapist is enabled to do that. You may be different. Your practice may not have you involved in that in any way. So you would not see anything about copays if you were in that case. But I am going to show you through how to take a copay and how to see your client. So there's two different ways to do this. Now, I can work several different places in therapy appointment depending on my preference. I could work on my home screen for the day. It's time to see Jill. It's time to start this telehealth session. So I can just click on top of this appointment, and I can say start session and start that telehealth session. And I can say start charting. I can also say accept payment. So let's do this with Jill. Let's say that I need to accept payment. There's two ways in therapy appointment to do that. I can click this button and see what I need to collect from the client. Or if your practice is connected with integrated credit card processing, and they may have enabled you to do auto pay, which means when you finish signing your session note, if the money hasn't yet been collected on that client, that you'll be able to automatically charge to the client. So I just want to show you first, if I click this accept payment button, it's going to say, hey, there are some additional charges besides today that this client owes. Do you want to take a look at that? And if you say no, then we can see, yes, this client owes us for today $25, that they also owe for a no-show fee on 5/8 of $25. So in this case, it might be my responsibility to take this payment from the client right now. So let's go ahead and put that in. And let's say the client is paying me by cash or check or credit card. If your practice is not using integrated credit card processing in Therapia Forum, but has a way to take payment, you could use external credit card, which means you are swiping or chipping a card through a system that's not Therapy Appointment, and then you're going to document how much the payment was here and any reference number. If you're using credit card integrated in Therapy Appointment, you'd be able to hit this continue button and follow the steps to charge the card on file, or type in a card to take payment if there's not a card on file. I'm just going to go ahead and say check that this is how the client paid me today. And we're going to go ahead and hit continue. And this is taking that $50 and using it to cover the 5/8 and the 10/9 sessions. So I'm just going to hit continue. This just gives me a confirmation screen, memo, statement memo if I need to put anything about this payment additional in the system. Please talk to your administrative staff about that. Save payment. Now notice that Jill turned orange. I could also work from my calendar and notice that Jill is orange here. Orange because I already took payment in that case. There is a legend in the lower right menu here on your calendar so that it'll inform you what that color means. We'll also be going over that here today. So blue is an appointment that's scheduled, but you have not taken payment. You've not finished the session note. It's not been marked as a late cancel or no-show. It's an outstanding appointment that you need to take action on. Orange, payment's been taken, but the note's not finished. This gray color, it's a finished appointment. I've written my session note and it was a private pay situation. And green, finished appointment, session notes completed, and it was an insurance situation. Okay, so let's go back to home. This is orange, this is blue. So let's go ahead and write my note on Jill. I could work from here and click the Start Charting button. I could work from my calendar, click on top, I get the same page. You also have on your home screen today. This gives you a what I call blinded view. If a client is looking over your shoulder, that I could click onto this and I have that same option, Start Charting, on those appointments. The other thing I have is at the top is Start Autopilot. I personally love this view for when I have a client in the office because I am able to do a couple of things here. It keeps time for me, lets me know I have an unread message. My appointment right now is with JJ, and I can see that she's already scheduled for an appointment on 10/11 at 1 o'clock. I can quickly look and see the last session note I wrote, and I can click this button and get to that same screen to start charting and take action on that appointment. So many different ways that you can use Therapy Appointment wherever you want to start from. So let's just go to the calendar. Click on top and hit Start Charting. You have many things here available to you, like look at the last few chart entries. I can add a quick note, which is a non-billable documentation that you might want to add on this particular client. I can quickly view the treatment plan from here. I could check in the client. I could reschedule the client appointment. I could cancel this appointment or mark it as a late cancel no-show. Maybe they need me to print them a receipt, an excuse note for work or school, reminders of upcoming appointments, and I have a fax referral source option here as well. Okay, but really what you're going to be using most often is Start Charting. Okay, now this has taken me to a chart note format. I've seen this client before. It's taken me to the same note format I used last session. And if I want to use this session note again, that's great. it is pre-filling in for me from the last time I used this note in order to save me time today, right? So if I'm looking at this, I can say, hey, yep, I can change this. Maybe my mood today is more depressed, okay? And then I can write pages and pages of additional information in about that. So this is a note format that I could use. This is a SOAP note, assessment, plan, okay? If you want to change your note format, go to the top. I really like this HIPAA progress note. This is just a little bit different note format. And what you're going to notice in all these note formats is what's the service you had the client scheduled for today. The start and end time, that was by default. If you need to edit that, you can do so. We had this client scheduled as telehealth, the symptoms of the client from last time, and it looks like last time I didn't fill anything about mental status in, so let's go ahead and do that today. And I can just say, hey, it's normal. Now, if you don't fill out everything in here, it's not going to look like you forgot. It's just going to, right? And I'm going to put none, mode. I can't spell. All right. Client has been diagnosed already with bipolar disorder. If you need to re-diagnose the client today, just type in your code. Like if it's an F41, it's then going to bring up all the F41 diagnoses. Or if you want to use a keyword search, you can do that and bring up all those bipolar diagnoses. Okay. You now have room to write a narrative about this session. If you want to pop in the last narrative written in this note format, I could click that and pop it in, okay? So I can also go up here and choose a certain note format that I want to use. Here's an example. So blah, 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 blah. And my treatment plan is here. If I'd like to update it today, I certainly can. If I leave this set to yes, it'll include the treatment plan as part of my completed note. If I leave it to no, it will not. And then you always have room for private notes. That is by default not included in a records request. So I'm going to hit continue and I get to preview my note. And now it's time to sign. And to do that, this blue button, finalize and lock, that's going to sign my note. Okay. And now Jill turned green because this session had insurance attached to it. That means that my admin have a claim ready to review and send out on that client. So let's do one more. We have Fred here. Now I'm not going to do anything with payment on Fred at this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start charting, right? This is taking me to that same kind of similar note we just saw before. And again, if I want whatever I want to fill this out with, I'm just going to, put some blah, blah, blah in here. And let's go ahead and hit continue. So now when I preview this note, I am going to go back and I am going to choose a different client because I need to, I want to show you how we can take payment through charting, and I couldn't do it for that client. Apologize. So here is my progress note again. This one we filled out before, right? Blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm just making some blah characters in here. And here we go. So I have not already taken payment for today's session. The client has a $25 copay that is owed. Please note that this will not collect for any previous outstanding appointments, just for today's appointment. Okay, so I'm going to hit finalize and lock, sign the note, and I took payment and signed my note at the same time. Now you'll notice we still have Fred here. I want to show you what to do in case there is a no-show or late cancel. If you click on top of that appointment, click cancel appointment, and you'll be able to choose availability from your practice. So it's maybe looking different than this, but what are we charging them for this? They didn't show. I'm charging them for my no-show charge, and why. So, client didn't show. I called the phone on record and left message regarding this. In fact, they will be charged. Okay, so now I can click this and hit continue. And so it's going to look like it cancels that appointment. However, that appointment is still there. If I go over to the right, click this box, then that appointment is now going to be on my schedule in red, and I can see who canceled it, the client didn't show, and because I marked it as a no-show, then that's going to be charged to the client. Okay. All right. So that is how you go through the process of your day. So your practice has likely given you access into a sandbox environment in Therapy Appointment, which is kind of pre-set up for you to log into and play around with fake clients. It's not a real account. It's not really going to create claims, but you can play and practice and dig around in it. Okay, so and we'll likely be meeting again for your practice. If you have additional questions, your practice may be scheduling an additional meeting where we'll be talking live and going through some things that you have questions about. But I appreciate your time today and watching this video, and we look forward to having you on board.